What's going on, guys? Welcome back. There's been a lot of stuff that I guess I've been talking about on the internet that has been kind of I'll say it's been hard for some people to swallow, right? Hard pills for people to swallow. When we're talking about this idea of celebrity, right? I feel like a lot of people have been pressing me in the comments about me defending celebrities, right? And I think that's a mischaracterization of my argument. I want to set one thing straight. God has no favoritism towards an individual person as to how they are going to be saved or how they're going to come to faith in Christ, right? Somebody like Kanye, for example, comes up and I talk about him often, not because I'm a fan of his, which I am, but more so because he represents this idea that the church has had for years about what a person should have to do to be saved and what they should look like publicly, right? What should a Christian life look like outright as soon as you're saved, right? Now, if you have a story like mine, I'll just tell you a brief story about mine, about myself and my faith. When I came to faith in Jesus, this was way before I became a Republican or anything. I was still addicted to drugs. I was still doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was going to clubs. I was smoking a lot of weed. I was doing everything that I could possibly do to kind of hinder myself from growth, right? On top of the fact that I was immature, still listening to immature music, still doing things that were incredibly immature, I just didn't look like a Christian. There's a moment before salvation where you have to accept the truth about the gospel, right? The fact that it is true, that Jesus did live, that he did resurrect. Once you become saved, now is the process of sanctification, right? This is where you go from, okay, I accept that this is real. Now I need to apply it to my own life. And I'll tell you from my personal story, that took a long time, right? That was not something that happened instantly. I didn't instantly say, let me get to every Bible study I can. Let me understand this and really live my life the right way. I thought going to church was enough. I thought just getting prayed for was enough for my eternal salvation and my growth in my Christian growth, right? And one of the things that's happened with celebrity as we get more access to celebrities in our culture, we're starting to project those same insecurities that we have of the new person in church onto them, right? So just because now they say that they're saved, that they want to live life according to Jesus, that they want to do these things, now they're held to a standard of a preacher or an influencer or an evangelist or something. And I understand where it's coming from because people want to look up to those people because they're in a place of success for doing something really well. But we have to really understand this. Christians, secular people, everybody needs to understand the simple fact. Celebrities are good at one thing. That doesn't mean that they have an authority to talk about everything. And so if a celebrity all of a sudden becomes a Christian or starts saying that he's interested in Christianity or wants to learn about Christianity, we should not be holding them to these incredible standards that you wouldn't hold yourself to or you wouldn't hold a new believer to that walks into the church. I understand where people are coming from. I just think that it's detrimental to our vision, detrimental to God's vision for the church when we are just so quick to jump down people's throats for doing something wrong, having a wrong thought, believing in something like chakras and astrology when you've just become a Christian, right? Obviously, those things are wrong and you should not believe in those things. There has to be grace for that person to say, oh, they still believe that. Okay, well, let's teach them why that's not true, and let's teach them what God says about these things, right? That should be the heart's posture that we have towards these people. Instead, we are looking for every opportunity to say, see, they're not real Christians. They're not real Christians. And it's like, imagine if you were treated that way in your very first encounter with God, right? In your first Sunday going to church is like saying like, now I'm saved, I've been baptized or whatever. People are like, oh, you still believe that, I don't know, that karma is real? You still believe that karma is real? You're not a real Christian. You'd be like, yeah, I am. I just gave my life to Jesus like 2 days ago. Like you weren't here. You were at the service. You dunked me. And to me, it almost seems like we're just waiting for people to fail instead of trying to build them up, right? And here's the thing, because we have visual access to these celebrities, but we don't have tangible access, all we do is cast judgment at them and all we do is lob accusations at them. but they have no real way to respond to us, and there's no real way that we can help them besides praying for them. So it just becomes something that we observe and we collectively judge as a church. To me, that's wrong. To me, it should not be that way. And that's my only point. And the reason that I talk about celebrities like Kanye and stuff is not because I have some sort of expectation that's different, is because I have the same expectation of them as any regular person, which is it takes time to grow into the knowledge of the truth of God and the gospel. It does. How else are you're just going to impart it into them? That's this hyper spiritualism that you know, I think is not healthy for the church either. This idea that you're going to be imparted holiness and perfection in a moment's notice as soon as you give your life to God, and you're never going to sin again. It boggles my mind that people would even think that that's possible. Let's change gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about what happened at Astroworld or AstroFest, whatever it was called. Pretty much this is the gist. Famous rapper Travis Scott was having a festival. Drake was there. He was hosting some live music. Now, for those of you that don't know who Travis Scott is, he is a very, very famous rapper. If you don't know him, your kids probably know him. Or if you don't know him, then your friends probably know him. And one of the things he's known for is being dark, right? And I don't necessarily mean like Marilyn Manson dark. I mean the symbolism and the subject matter and the style of his art has always been dark, occult. The imagery that he uses has always been this way. And so now we have this festival where he's the lead, right? He's the headliner. And all of this crazy stuff starts happening. People are essentially being trampled on, dying, right? I think there's 8 verified deaths, and then there's rumors of more than that, according to some Instagram sources. Needless to say, this is a tragedy. This is horrifying. This is evil. This is on top of the fact that apparently there's rumors now, or some media outlets are even covering that, but they're taking syringes essentially and then injecting people with like fentanyl and stuff like that at these concerts. And so all sorts of dark, weird, creepy stuff, right? But then this is what ends up happening, right? As Christians, as a community of Christians that we are, we collectively get together and say, oh, there was a satanic ritual to sacrifice lives of these people, and Travis Scott is at the helm, right? This is Astroworld. It's always been dark. And my head goes, I understand why you think that, but it's possible that this is just a tragedy. And it's possible that this is just something evil that's happened because of neglect, because of the love of money, because occult images sell. Remember, this generation isn't the one that created this idea of like occult Illuminati imagery. You know, you go back to the Beatles, people thought the Beatles were demonic. The religious right of the 1950s thought, you know, we're burning Beatles albums because they thought it was the devil's music. You know, all of these things have always been here. You know, you go to metal shows. If you've been to a metal show within the past 40 years, 30 years, you'll know that there's some crazy stuff. Look up a band named Gwar. This is a band named Gwar. Okay, they're from some other place. I think they're like Scandinavian or something like that. But this is what their shows look like. They do this. They have these costumes on, and then they dump ritualistic blood all over the audience. That's kind of sounds like a satanic ritual, and there's video of that, right? But then you go to a place like Astroworld where we're talking about this, and let's watch the video and then we'll talk about it some more. This is what's happening out there. Bunch of crazy stuff. People are breaking into the VIP section. Just crazy things happening, right? There's the video of people getting trampled. Tons of stuff, right? I don't want to play too much of it because it's just... My point is this. It is possible for these things to be happening without there being some organized satanic ritual that's going on in the background. And I'm not saying that this isn't serious, but we do have to have a spiritual understanding of these things. Maybe that the cause of this is not necessarily some demonic presence, but a mix of all of the things that have gone wrong with this that we're seeing, right? And all I'm asking for is verifiable proof. The Astroworld situation has become this new Illuminati confirmed thing that Christians used to love talking about, where all of a sudden everything that Travis Scott has ever done is like some satanic ritual. They were saying this about Kanye. They've been saying this about Jay-Z, you know, Jehovah, all of this stuff. And I understand where it's coming from. But then again, the reason that these things have been around for so long, these theories, is because there's no way to verify them. And that's my big problem with this, right? There is a way to verify the gospel. You can tell that Jesus was a historical figure. He lived, he was crucified, he died, he resurrected. Like, this is all historically documented. All of these theories about spiritualism and the demonic and all this stuff are non-verifiable. Therefore, I can't buy into them. I understand people can discern spirits, and some people have the gift of discerning spirits. I get that. But that looks a lot less like discerning whether or not something is demonic, which is pretty evident by the occult imagery that's used everywhere, and discerning somebody's life and saying, oh, well, maybe you want to sharpen up on this because you need to be discipled better. I think the latter is a better use of the idea of discernment than the former. When we're talking about events like this and things that are happening in the world, it's very important not to leap to the nth idea of spiritual satanic ritualism, because then you dilute what actual satanic rituals are, which are these super organized, super evil, dark things that are actually there in the physical, that manifest themselves. If you look at anything about spiritualism and the demonic, you will see that there are very clear rituals, that things have to be done in a certain way, because that's what they're about. I'm not saying that it's organized in a good way. I'm saying that their whole concept is like very rigid, whereas opposed to the gospel is free and given to us with grace. So it's the opposite. Right? They have to follow these rules in order to get the results they want. We surrender ourselves to God. There's two polar opposites. So when we say that something is a demonic ritual, it just doesn't add up for me. Sorry, it doesn't. And I know you guys are going to hate me for that. So I want to talk about a couple of verses, and then I'm just going to end it there because I feel like I'm going on a rant now. So this is Ephesians 6:12, right? And this is the one that most people are going to use against me, even though I'm saying that people should be suing Travis Scott, suing Astroworld, all of their partners. They should be sued into oblivion. I'm saying that crystal clear. This is not good. I feel terribly for the families, and we should be praying for the families and praying for Travis Scott, honestly, that he may find God and give his life to Jesus. Like, absolutely. But let's read this. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. What does this mean, right? We are talking about a man right now. We're talking about Travis Scott. We're talking about Kanye West. We're talking about Marilyn Manson. These are people, right? So our struggle is not against them, obviously, is what it's saying, but it's against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world. What does that mean? Who are the rulers of the dark world? Obviously, the demonic, the satanic, right? The enemy is the ruler of this dark world. How do we battle against that? How do we fight against that? It's not by shouting out demonic possession at every chance we get, but it's about changing the way that people see the love of God. It's about presenting them to the gospel, right? We have to be able to get people to change their mind about darkness and not be attracted to darkness, right? And I think that this is doing that because you're obviously seeing the effects of this darkness, but this doesn't mean that we lob accusations of satanic rituals at these crazy things that are happening, right? 2 Timothy 3:1-5. But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days, and people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power, have nothing to do with such people. Now, does that sound familiar? To me, this sounds exactly like what this whole festival was. It was about the love of money. It was about the ego of a man, Travis Scott. It was about how this guy was telling people to disobey their parents, to be ungrateful, telling you that you should be God of your own life. That's what this festival was. That's what most festivals are, in my opinion. But this is kind of the fruit that it's bared. And now people are starting to see, okay, maybe festivals are not a great idea, right? Because people are just indulging in their hedonistic self-pleasure, and when that happens, nothing good happens. I think maybe we're starting to make that correlation, but that doesn't mean that it's some ritual. And that's my only point. That's my only point with this, is that it's not some ritual. It's just the manifestation of a postmodern hedonistic culture. That's all it is, and we've reaped what we sowed. We've sown into this culture hedonism, misogyny, polyamory, sin, lust, violence. We've sown into this culture for decades now, these things. And now it's manifesting itself and people are saying it's a demonic ritual. No, it's our culture. That's what it is. Plain and simple. That's how our culture looks now. Happy with it? That's really what I was trying to say with all of this. I try and make these videos as short as possible now. I try not to do the whole podcast interview thing, even though I know you guys love it. I don't see the clicks for that, so sorry. I'd also rather be topical, and I don't have as much time as I used to be doing these videos, so I appreciate all of the love that you guys give me anyway. If you want more of these kind of videos, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. If you don't like it, which I'm assuming a lot of you aren't, definitely still hit that dislike button. I understand why you would dislike it, and just leave me a comment. What are your thoughts on this? Am I losing my head, or am I kind of on to something here? Because in my opinion, there is nuance to be had in things like this, even though, like I said, it is a tragedy. So pray for the victims of the Astroworld fiasco, and hopefully you guys will be on for the next video. Thanks so much. My name's Angel. See you guys later.